First, we're going to be talking about what's going on in New York State. If you are a New York driver, if you've been driving since, hold on, let me tell you, between 2015 or 2014 and 2017, in New York State, you may be getting some money back because of some of the practices that Uber and Lyft were doing. It's going to total $328 million, $290 million from Uber, and $38 million from Lyft. Yeah, what did you think about that settlement when you heard about it?
Look, okay, so a lot of weeks, what we do is we find these glitches. And this in New York in 2014, it started as a glitch. And I am pretty sure if I had the emails going back then, and because we weren't around then, literally, Harry was just starting the RideShare Guy. I'm sure a lot of people complained to support, saying that, look, this is wrong. I'm not getting paid, or you're taking the money out of my paycheck or account that you shouldn't be taking it. And then I'm sure they came back with, oh, there's a glitch, we'll fix it, right? So this went on for 3 years, 2014 to 2017. And at 2020, the Attorney General started paying attention to it. Look at the timeline, though, Chris. This is 2014 to 2020 when they pick it up. And 3 years after that, in late 2023 now, they ended up settling this case. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think Uber was a clear winner in this, okay? And maybe other people may not think so, but I think they were. So they delayed paying something that they should have paid, they shouldn't have done, for 3 years. And then 3 years after that, this gets picked up, it gets investigated. It takes another 3 years for them to come to a settlement. However, I think 300 million is going to be a lot of money going back to the driver pockets. Now, how many are still driving from 2014 and what the breakdown is going to be, we don't know yet, but obviously it's a lot of money. And Lyft, about 30 million on top of that. But I think it ended up being a good deal because, I followed Uber stock, obviously. And here's the exchange, Chris. 6 years later, or 7 years, almost 8 years later, you settle it for 300 million because some legislative headwind was erased from the Uber company or corporation. Their stock went up from 43 to 50 today. Okay, so in about a short period of time. This was announced late last week. So Uber has 2 billion shares outstanding, okay? Billion with a B. So 7 points on 2 billion shares is $14 billion. So 300 million to relieve the pressure of some legislation. And I think it's a pretty good exchange. What do you think? 300 million for 14 billion in market cap increase, right?
Yeah, that's a nice little exchange.
That's a nice little exchange. I wish I could do that kind of exchange every day. And I wish all drivers could do that, right? That's like a
I know, right? Here, I'll give you $100, but then I get $15,000. Essentially, what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'll give you $1, you give me 15,000. That's pretty good. Look, obviously, it's cash is cash that they have to put out, but now there's a big positive side to this. Okay, now the positive for Uber is that lawsuit by the Attorney General. So there were 2 settlements in this for Uber, okay? One of the settlements was with the Attorney General's office, which was the 300 million or 290 million. But Uber sweetened the pot a little bit, right? And they ended up, giving the drivers a minimum wage floor in the state of New York, not just New York City. New York City has its own rules. The 5 boroughs play with their own rules. They have the TLC, Taxi Limousine Commission. They're very strong. They have terrific rights for their drivers. In this case, though, in the specific Attorney General's case, this case was settled by drivers staying independent contractors, period. Okay? The second case that was settled, which was, and Chris will talk about what the rights were of these drivers, because he's in New York. I mean, he's part of this settlement. If he was driving between 2014 and 2017, he may get some money, actually. The other thing is, now Chris is going to benefit from a minimum wage floor, okay? active time, albeit, and he's going to benefit from some paid time, I mean, sick time, okay, which he will explain to you guys. So I'll just explain the settlements. The first settlements with the AG, Attorney General, and everybody stays independent contractors, meaning the classification of the worker is what Uber wants, okay? In every single state, that's all they want, to come to the table and show the driver some money. All Uber says is, I want all of you, all drivers, to stay independent contractors. And that's what they got with the AG settlement. Now, the second settlement was with the federal, on the federal side, which was actually on the state NLRB, which is the National Labor Bureau. On that one, with that entity, they did not come to a conclusion. They agreed to disagree as far as the classification of the drivers are concerned. However, on that side, they decided to start contributing into the state unemployment fund, unemployment insurance fund. And that's also a positive for drivers who are driving now and who may be, let's say you get deactivated, right? If you got deactivated unjustly, not only you can go appeal this, obviously, but if it's proven that you got deactivated unjustly, you can benefit from the unemployment insurance fund. As we know, with regular employment, not everybody gets money when they get laid off. Now, if you get laid off, obviously you do it. But if you committed fraud, or if you committed a crime, you're not going to be benefiting from unemployment insurance, even if you are an employee. So in this case, there is thresholds for people to start getting unemployment insurance. So out of the two settlements, I think Uber liked it. And you can tell the stock what it did. It relieved some pressure, and I have spoken to Uber about this. I have permission to say this. What they want is they want everybody to stay independent contractors, and they will sit down and agree to certain things that employees have as far as rights are concerned. And they're willing to talk about rates, and they're willing to talk about sick time off. And we have Prop 22 in California, not a hugely popular thing. But, now, Chris, you take over and tell the audience what you got, buddy.
Yeah, well, first, this is the thing that we got from Uber. So this is actually directly from them. So it will
Directly, yeah.
we'll break down not only the benefits and stuff that New York drivers now will get, but we're also going to talk about how you can get the settlement cash as well too, because I think that's very important for people who are driving then. And it doesn't matter if you were driving, stop driving. As long as you were driving during that time, you have the ability to put your name in for the settlement and get some money out of the deal. So whether you're driving, if you know somebody in New York that was driving, not anymore, talk to them about this, because that is a big thing. I think one of the big things too to take away from this is what you were saying, how that's a lot of leverage when it comes to them saying, we want drivers to remain independent contractors, and then we'll look at giving all of these things. I think that's something that we talked about the playbook when it came to Seattle and Washington, how they kind of did their thing, and they're continuing to do their thing. We said, oh, we thought it was just the Seattle legislation and the state of Washington legislation saying, too bad, so sad, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. But when in actuality, they were all at the table. It was Uber, Lyft, and the drivers, as well as legislators that were there, that came together and worked out the deal. And that's what came about. So I think having that playbook and that idea is kind of the step one towards what New York did. I think other states can also take a look at that by saying, yeah, if we look at independent contractors, and maybe some drivers want employees, but most drivers still want independent contractor. I would have to say, or venture, at least 80% want to be and remain independent contractors, whether it's current situation or getting some of these benefits added. I think most would be agreeing that they would want some sort of benefits that are coming on that. But one of the big things is the benefits can come. And again, step one, leading hopefully into step two, where it can look into more things. And then more likely off of the Seattle and the Washington model into the state of New York or other states that may be looking at some sort of legislation or settlement or anything like that. Now, with another side of the settlement coin that I want to mention before going on, this is New York State. And you know damn well between 2014 and 2017, when this was happening, this was not happening just in New York State, that this was happening all over the place. So, states, you should probably look into it a little bit more, seeing what happened, and then, coming to the table and seeing what kind of settlements you could get for your drivers outside within those states during those times. So I think that's something that really needs to be addressed and looked at. But let's take a look at. Hold on, let me get this
Yeah, give
started.
me like one
Uh,
minute. Give me like 10 seconds to answer this. Why did the stock go up after being caught stealing? Good question.
because
First of
instead of
all, they
having
did
to pay
not.
up here and you only got to pay out here.
Yeah. Well, number one, they did not admit to any wrongdoing. Part of the settlements are usually is like that, and Uber confirmed that they did not admit to any wrongdoing. That's number one. Number two, a huge potential headwind was lifted, meaning under the AG's agreement, drivers are all staying independent contractors. Look, this is Uber's playbook. They're willing to talk to you as long as you give them you give up collective bargaining rights and unionization. Right now, in the state NLRB's case, that's not happening yet. So there still could be potentially under the state national labor board. They didn't agree for classification, but under the state AG this suit, they agreed that the drivers are staying independent contractors. That's a huge win for Uber, because Uber does not want anybody to be their employee other than their own 33,000. Okay. And so, yeah, it's a win because a headwind was lifted. And this playbook is pretty clear now. Okay. They're either going to push Prop 22 all over the country, okay, which we don't like, period. Or they're going to push something like this that they come to agreement in New York, which I call it Prop 22 light, actually. Okay. Because there is
Yep.
no healthcare stipend and there is nothing in here that the drivers should get excited about. But Chris will, being from New York, he will talk about that. So that's why the stock went up and gained 14 billion in market capitalization. So
Yeah. So this right here is the website. Link is going to be in the description. So again, if you are in New York State, if you've driven between 2014, 2017, this is November 10th, 2014 and May 22nd, 2017 for Uber. You could get back payments if you drove for Lyft between October 11th, 2015 and July 31st of 2017, then you may be getting it. Now, for the majority of drivers, it's going to be New York City based. It's not going to be New York State because New York State had not allowed Uber and Lyft to operate until the end of June of 2017. So Uber's payments may be all going to New York City. Uber did operate in New York State until they pretty much stopped it. So you got to make sure you pay attention to when you were driving, if you were driving in New York State. But yeah, basically go to the website. This is what you're going to see. If you had driven between, you can file the claim on either side. You can file both claims if you were driving both. And then it gives you some FAQs underneath for that. So it says, do you currently drive for New York for Lyft? Do you currently drive for Uber? And then kind of talks about that. Underneath, you can look at the new benefits. So it's going to give you sick leave. Basically, it's 30 hours that you work actively. Everything's active again. You earn 1 hour sick up to 56 hours. The minimum payment for non-New York City drivers is $26. The thing is, it will increase as well. So it's going to go from 26 to 26.39 and then 26.78 by June. After that, it will increase annually due to inflation. There's going to be paid training. So you're going to get $15 per hour or the lowest minimum wage for training. You're going to get hiring notices and earning statements as well. Chat support, which I think we all know, but they're going to expand the languages that it's going to allow. So English, Spanish, Canadian, as well, or Canadian French, I'm sorry, as well as Uber's got English, Spanish, French, Russian, Bengali, and Chinese, which I think pretty much if they're going to AI support, which we're going to be talking about, you could code it pretty much in any language you want. Um, the one thing that I do like though, hopefully this will be something that actually has some meaning, is activation to appealing. So
yeah.
if you get deactivated or anything, you have the ability to appeal it. So this is for any reason. that it's telling you. So whether it's a just deactivation or an unjust deactivation, having some sort of deactivation process or appeal, I think can be a good thing for drivers. And then a settlement administrator. So this is Russ Consulting for the settlement page when it comes to the 328 million. So yeah, if you're a driver, like I said, check out this page. This will give you a lot of information when it comes down to everything that's going on in New York State. So I think there is some decent things here when it comes to Uber and Lyft having to have these things, but will it actually pay out drivers? This is all based on active time. So you got $26, almost $27 at the beginning of June next year, that it's going to be at, and then go up from there every. I think it's March 2nd or something. It shows in the FAQ.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
but
26 is
the problem
26, but
is
it's active.
this is
So
active time. So this is only the time between you accepting a trip, going to pick them up, picking them up, and then dropping them off.
yeah,
Those are the only time that it's active. So the time that you're sitting there, that's not active time. So you're not getting paid for that. And I think that could be a little bit of a problem when it comes to drivers and what they're seeing, because what you see on there doesn't necessarily show active time. It says per hour. And then, it kind of talks about a couple of things where you have to decipher that. So I think that needs to be addressed a little bit. But yeah, unfortunately, that is going to come down to active time. So it's very similar to what's going on with Prop 22.
yeah,
I think it should just be raise rates to a certain level across the state and call it a day, something similar to Washington and Seattle.
yeah.
So
Well,
that's what I think. But
yeah, I mean, the other thing is, how many people that drove between 2014 and 2017, and the settlement was for the black car fund that New York State had. How
mhm,
many people are still driving? And and obviously they have to get their money. I mean, as we know, this is a very transitory crowd, right? Most drivers last less than a year. So obviously, if you watch this and if you drove back then, Chris put up the link of the AG settlement or the Q&A part in the show notes. I mean, look, to me, this is a win for Uber. To me, there is no ifs and buts about it. But again, this is how they're going to do it, people. This is the way it's going to work out. Uber says we will come to the table and negotiate state by state. They said they did not say this is exactly what's going to happen in every state, but we know what's happening in Massachusetts now with that Prop 22 clone. And they said this clear, flat out. They said state by state, this is our model. This is what we want to do. As long as drivers want to stay independent contractors, we're okay with that. We'll come to the table and give some, take some, talk about it, and come up with a conclusion. And that's what it is. I don't think there's much really to say. If you have any questions, you can send them to me. I read the whole thing. I understand the whole thing. So Sergio at the RideShareGuy.com. And yeah, that's it. And I think it was a pretty good exchange for Uber for this week anyway. So
yeah, I'm the thing is, I'm hoping it's just step one. I hope there's going to be
yeah,
more steps that are going to be coming
yeah,
to the table, which is going to be designed to actually help drivers. I think over time, we're actually going to see if there's going to be any payouts when it comes to this minimum floor, because 26 per active hour is probably lower than what most drivers are going to be making when it comes down to it. So,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, there
Most
may be
likely, look.
some that are going to pay, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean
it's
Uber,
something I
but
hope that we start looking at the Washington state model and kind of
yeah,
look at enacting a couple of things there as well.
yeah. I mean, look, Uber's earnings were today. I listened to the conference call. Yeah, great conference call. Really, this guy runs. He's a good talker, obviously, and that this was talked about legislation pressure, and they said they feel pretty comfortable that what happened in New York, and that's what they're going to support, and they're willing to sit down and talk, and they clearly said that. But the other thing is, Uber is built on data. Okay, we're going to talk about during the earnings segment of the show today how much data these people are collecting, and that 26, by the way, did not magically appear. Okay, they have all
Yeah.
this data, and they came up with that number because pretty much every driver is hitting that number, so they don't have to pay out of pocket too much, right? And they have the data on everybody. I mean, they have the data individually by the day, by the hour, how much each driver makes, and 26 per active hour. You guys have to understand, if your utilization rate is only 50%, Okay. Let's say you're busy only half of that 60 minutes with a passenger in the car and on your way to the passenger. You take that 26 divided by half, divided by two, you're only earning $13. So 26 again is active hour, and it's going to depend on how busy you keep yourself and how many trips you take. And look, the other thing this is going to do is it's going to tell people, accept everything. We're going to back you up at 26 anyway, right? Accept all the $3, $4, $5 trips as long as you're busy 60 minutes out of the 60, or even have auto accept on, right? Accept, 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 accept. We're backing you up at 26. You're not going to earn less than 26 an hour. I think this will help the ends pretty much. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's quite different than Seattle's, a little bit different than Prop 22. So this is the newer model. For me, the Washington State Seattle model is still the winner, but we'll
Yep.
see. We'll see where we go.
No, I agree with that. I mean, the only thing though that's nice is that sick time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
basically, for every 30 hours, you get 1 hour sick time. It's at that $26.
yeah,
So, you get up to 56 hours per year. So, 56 hours times 26, that's nice to
yeah,
be able to kind of not have to worry. So if you
yeah,
go out there and let's just say that you compare it to a normal job, which is maybe an 8 hour shift, that's 7 days worth of hours right there. So you get a full week off that could be paid for when it comes to sick time and all that. So
yeah.
that's at least I think a
Well,
benefit that's going to be good because that is at that 26 per hour or whatever the rate's going to be because it is going to go up uh, uh up
yeah,
basically almost to 27. So
that is your
um
backup. No, you want to do more than 26, obviously. Okay,
oh
that
yeah,
is your backup. That is your minimum. So you have a
that's your
backup at
floor,
26.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the floor. So don't think you're only going to get 26. You could get 50. I mean, depending on your style of driving. I'm just saying that you do have a backdrop and you have like something to lean back on if it's not busy, whatever. But I'm just saying, don't look at 26 and say, oh, I'm just only going to make 26. No, that is the floor. The ceiling is yours. So,
Mhm.
the other thing is, let's just reiterate on the second settlement with the NLRB of New York State. Uber and Lyft both are going to start depositing money into the state unemployment insurance
Unemployment.
fund. And
Yep.
that's also a pretty good win. I mean, if they deactivate you for no reason, you appeal, you
Well,
come out, you can collect
so here's the
unemployment.
thing.
So,
Early 2020, they actually had to start paying into the fund. So they're also backtracking pay, but they're not sharing how much that settlement is because that settlement's sealed. So we're not going to know how much that is going to come down to the costs that are associated with it. That could be 100 million, that could be 500 million, that could be, maybe even more, who knows. But I'm sure it's probably not that bad. But either way, yeah, it's sealed because they have to go back pay, and then yeah, drivers are going to be able to collect unemployment when it comes down to it. So
yeah,
that can be a good thing. Hopefully, we'll have some more answers. ABC had commented how they're in upstate New York as well, and they're making 30 an hour when it comes to P2 and P3. Which, yeah, I mean, they're talking about $35 the average driver makes during active time. So just goes to show you if it goes down to 26, you're going to have a little bit of a makeup there. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. And,
yeah.
we're going to be talking about
Time will tell how this
oversaturations
is
as
going to work
well.
out. Look,
Yep.
this may be just a starting point, just like
I
Seattle,
hope.
Washington State. They can add to it. I think. Look, drivers have a floor. They're gonna stay independent. Uber got what they wanted. Yeah, I mean, time will tell, man. I don't know. I mean, if I'm a New York driver, a newbie, don't know anything, don't know how to cherry pick, I'm taking everything. I have a guarantee of 26. Is it good? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying my opinion. Uber, I think like this one,
Yeah.
and
And like I say, I think we just need to continue going to the table and continuing increasing to make it more like a Seattle and Washington model because
yeah,
that's again to me that's the same thing as it was what you say. I appreciate that and I like that very much.
yeah,
It just gives everything around all around very well. You're
yeah,
getting better pay per mile per time, all that good stuff. You're getting sick time. You're getting paid time off. You're getting deactivation process and appeals. So I think that one's pretty good there. So
yeah.
um, we'll see.
Yeah. All right, we'll
And I
see.
mean, I'm hoping that deactivation does do well. I hope that people will be able to appeal it. There'll be a quick process, and
Yeah,
it won't be a problem. Hopefully, maybe there will be back pay. I don't know. We'll see. But
I
either
hear you.
way, one of the things that you definitely need when it comes to any sort of appeal process, this is something that was talked about in your Business Insider article, is making sure that you screenshot everything, because the
Yep,
proof is with screenshots, but also having a dash camera is going to be key. So you want to make sure you have a dash camera. We like the display ride because it's going to upload to the cloud right away. So in the event that anything happens, you are going to be able to take care of it yourself. You'll be able to deactivate, or I'm sorry, you'll be able to appeal that deactivation, hopefully, because when it comes down to dash cameras, they do not lie. They tell you exactly what is happening. And so if somebody is going to go to an appeal, have this information and it shows that the passenger was lying, well, in that
yeah,
case, they're going to get back on the platform.
yeah,
So again, this is something, the display ride, enter code RSG20, and you're going to get it from $25 a month down to $20 a month with 20% off. And something that's really cool too is they just came out with a body cam. So if you're doing food delivery, you can do this with the body camera. So it gives you the vest, it gives you the camera, and it's normally $30 a month. But if you enter code RSG, just RSG, you're going to get it for 33% off at $20 a month as well too. So you can look at maybe getting both of them, getting one or the other. But yeah, this is their new product that came out, and I think this is going to be really nice for delivery drivers out there to be safer, to be smarter, and to be having that extra peace of mind when it comes down to it.
yeah. I agree. I have one. That was one of my top point when it came to the article in the Business Insider. I go, you got to have a dash cam. I don't care 10 hours, 20 hours, 70 hours, whatever you're doing, you got to have a dash cam these days. And so, yeah, that's what we recommend. And as far as the body cam, I think the vest comes with it too, right, Chris? They don't have to pay for the
Yep.
vest
Yeah, the
separately.
vest comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So, I
part of it
mean,
because it's pretty hefty. So having
yeah,
having that is gonna kind of take it off. You're not putting it on your shoulder or anything like that. So yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, it's a good thing to have.
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.